Okay, in 5.3 here, we're going to go and do some mental math stuff right here, quick. Just renaming fractions and keeping the denominator the same. So in this, one thing you got to always check out here is it a mixed number or is it an improper fraction? Like this one right here, improper fraction. This one right here, mixed number. So in these improper fraction ones right here, you're basically going to do that equals 36 divided by 5. So how many times is 36 going to 5? We get 7. It's 35. Remainder of 1. So your remainder is always the numerator. Denominator is always there. So that's one way that you can do those types of problems. For these mixed numbers over here, where there's a whole number and a fraction, your best bet is to take these two numbers and multiply them. So 16 times 2 is 32, and then add the numerator. That's 35, and then the denominator just always is going to stay the same. So there's some different things you can do where you're going to take like just 1 away from here and add 16 because it's in 16ths. So I'll give an example like this one right here. I could take 1 away and only have 1 whole now. So this is going to equal, and then I'd add 3/3 to this, so it would be 1 4/3. You got to think of it as the fraction part is always meaning that, like in this case, it's already separated into thirds. That's why I'm adding 3. Whatever the denominator is, if you take 1 away, you would add it to your numerator. So again, I'd do this, take 1 away, I'd add 8/8 because 1 is the same as 8/8. And then that would be 3 11/8. Would be another way that you could do that. So that's just a couple of options, something to think about, good reminders for you. We'll get into this a little bit. So choose the best estimate for each problem and write the answer for any of the problems you can solve mentally. So if this is 2/5 plus 1/4, you got to think about that. Well, this is only a quarter and this is 2/5, so you're not quite close to 1 at all. You're just really about at a half. A ninth, 4/9, 3/9. Well, you know that 3/9 and 1/9 is 4/9. And plus 4/9 is 8/9. The closer that is, so your answer would be 8/9. When your numerator and denominator are really close together like this, you're going to end up being about 1. That's what you get here. But I'm not overly worried with some of this estimation part of it. I think overall in my mind that estimation for fractions isn't the most important thing in the world. So this is just something that you're going to end up finishing up on your own. Next part here, solving addition problems with fractions and mixed numbers. Now in this, the first thing that you're always going to have to do, we'll do an example together, is you're going to have to add your fractions. So it says estimate each sum, then solve. Well, let's just solve these ones. So I've always thought that drawing a little line right here somewhat helped, because then it would say, do this side first, do this side, and then once you get into the groove of doing problems like this, you might not have to do this. But so you have 4/7 plus 4/7, which would be 8/7 right here. Denominator's already the same for you, so you don't have to do anything. Add the numerators, or the whole numbers, and that's 7. So 7 and 8/7. Now you might see this and say, hey, can I put that into a new fraction? Because 7/7 is 1 and you have more than that. So yeah, you could make this 1 whole and put it over here. 8, when you take 1 whole away from this fraction, you took 7/7 away and gave it to this number right here. And then you have 1/7 left over. That's definitely an option. These problems right over here, again, I'm going to draw a line here. You don't have a whole number in this one, but the other part you see here is that the denominators in each of these are not the same. So you have to find a common denominator. So in 4 and 6 are your two denominators. So I'd write 4 and 6 over here, and then get the multiples for each of these numbers. So 4, 8, 12. And I'd stop there because in my head I know that 12 is going to be a good one for this. I know 6 goes into 12 and 4 goes into 12. So I'll change each of these fractions. So 3/4. Now, I'll just write that up here. here. 3/4 equals something over 12. That's the new fraction I'll make it. Remember, it's just multiplying. You did this in like 5-1 a little bit, so it's just going to be some multiplication to get this. So 4 times what equals 12 is 3. Got to do the same thing up here. 3 times 3 is 9. So I know 3/4 now. I'm going to get rid of it and make it 9/12. 1/6. Again, I'll change that. It's going to equal something over 12 because we want those fractions to be the same. 6 times 2 is 12, so 1 times 2 is up here is 2, so 1/6 becomes 2/12. Now I can add these fractions. So 9 plus 2 is 11, and then the denominator stays the same. 6 plus, there's nothing here, so that's just 6 and 11/12. So this is some of the work that you're going to do today, is just adding problems with fractions and mixed numbers. So that's what you're going to work on today. You got some word problems here that you're just going to do some of that work as well. Again, the estimation part with fractions, I'm not overly worried about, but the big thing to consider is just how close is your fraction like this to 1 or a half. One of those two things, and that's where you would round it. Is it 6.5, or could I round this to 7? Again, 4 2/4, is that going to be a half, or would I leave it at that number? So you got some of that work too. Your home link right here. Again, it's just going to be some adding and adding of these fractions. Just remember, you've got to have a common denominator. You can't do it. This one's done for you. These ones, you're going to have to find common denominators for all of those things. So make sure you get that done. If you have any questions, be sure you ask.